Yeah, all the time's home. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 18:01.
Yes, sir.
You call roll, please.
All right. Director Berringham?
Here.
Director Welty?
Here.
Director Nathan?
Here.
Director Hagen?
Present.
President Harris?
Here.
Vice President Cormet?
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public official now announcements. Randy? Randy, do you have any announcements? Yeah.
Okay, we have the city council tomorrow night at 6:30 at the chamber, so we appreciate the citizens and members to come to the city council meeting, and the PO have been a nice job of attending ourselves, so I really appreciate that. Number two is on May 22nd, and I know it's a little time ahead, we're going to have our next attempt to have an evening public safety meeting, okay? So it's going to start at 6 o'clock. We haven't quite decided the place yet because we don't know inside the gate or outside the gate, and so we'll communicate that. But I would really hope, Ruben has been working this hard, and he says he's going to have 88 people show up, so I'm going to see that at 88 people. So I just encourage people to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. I don't see any more public officials, so we'll move right into our presentation.
We skipped the minutes.
What minutes? There are none.
Sorry, sir. There are no minutes this month. They weren't ready in time.
Presentation. Tom.
Thank you. About a year ago, I started talking with Steve Schneider about some issues that are up at this park that's right at the North Ski area. Harmony, can you put up the pictures that I sent? So we go to, let's see, go to the one on the far left. So right there is a picture of an area, it's a sidewalk, but it's a downslope that's fairly significant. Most people have a hard time negotiating that. Now there's another picture, it's a side angle. If you could click over, Harmony. Looks like the one on the, right in the middle, yep. So you can see a 20-degree slope on that angle of most of the way of the ramp. You get down to the bottom and it's almost 25 degrees. So the average staircase is about what they call rise over run 7 to 11, and that's about a 28.6 degree slope. So imagine going up a staircase but not actually having stairs, so it's just a flat piece of ground. That's what that slope is pretty much like. So it's no handrail, very steep. Most people, like I say, try not to negotiate that if they can unless they're young and healthy. So that's something that we looked at, saying it probably should be replaced and put some stairs in there. Go to, yeah, that picture there, number 2. So also the landscape area that's in that area, probably several years ago, just turned off all the irrigation, all the landscape died, and now this is what it looks like. Even after the year of rain that we've had, we can't even get weeds to grow here. It's completely dry and barren of everything. So the trees that are there are a little bit messy. The water fountains sort of non-functional, not really in a good place. So something about the whole design of this area we wanted to attack and make it a little bit more inviting and make it so it's a little bit friendlier for the community. And one picnic bench is also not a lot of space for people, so we're looking to try and expand the amount of space there. So what we're talking about in planning is trying to make this into a bigger hardscaped area and more seating and more availability for benches and tables so that we'll be able to entertain more people there. Number 4. So there's the picture right now is of one of 2 docks that are there attached to the North Ski area parking lot. And one of the other things that we're going to try and get put into this location is a handicapped accessible area. Right now, there is no way for anyone that's handicapped to get really onto a boat at the North Ski area unless they're already in the boat when the boat launches. So by changing the configuration of this particular area, we can install something that will provide some handicap access and get people onto the water in the North Ski area, as well as the main lake. We already have a handicap accessible ramp that's on the main lake. So we're doing a bit of I know Steve was hoping to get that item here tonight, but we're still waiting on one bid before we actually present it to the board. So it'll probably be presented at next month's meeting. But on behalf of the Canyon Lake Ski Club and all the members and families that we have in our club, we would like to donate $5,000 to the POA in helping in this project. And I got a big giant check for it. You want to take your Susan here?
And that's yours. Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
The real one's on the back there. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
She has one more picture, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull any item for discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to pull F through M. These are Cheryl's, I think, for the most part, and I'd just like her to have her explain what they are. I'm not against them. I'm just thinking that if the community would probably like to know what they're about. If I'm not totally clear, I'm sure the people in the community are not totally clear either. So if you could explain them.
Not a problem. So if we're talking about F, so what we're trying to do is add a couple of words and change some verbiage. There is no changes to any of the setbacks. It's basically just definitions, adding a couple of words, and appears to me that Harvey and I are having some problems getting the red line versions to you. So if it's necessary, I can get a copy of the red lines to you all now. But really what it is,
Just approving the consent items and then talking about this after the fact.
That's our normal course of action if we'd like to just hold on this and vote on the rest of the consent agenda first.
Okay,
okay, so you want me to continue on?
and
Okay.
we'll do this
Okay,
first.
you got it.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve consent agenda item A through E as in Edward.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay, so F and G are two brand-new rules, and these two new rules are basically, we're requesting for the board to approve them for a 30-day reading because the Committee in Planning Compliance believed that this is much needed for, we want to call it habitual people who do things without permits. It's kind of one of those rules that will help, we're hoping to eliminate people not getting permits in the future. It is on a rolling scale, 18-month period, so it is progressive in nature. For instance, if a member decides to do something without a permit the first time, there is an amount. These are out of order from what I have it, so give me just a moment. $500 is the first offense, second offense is 1,000, and the 15 is 1,500, for the third offense. And then the secondary rule is failure to build according to plan, with basically the same amounts, with the same 18-month period of time, with a progressive scale. Is there any more questions on that one?
So when you say failed to build per plan, they added a interior wall where it wasn't before on the plan, or do you mean they added a bathroom or another room, or?
Yeah, it's basically if a member comes in and they're building a wall in the front yard or a retaining wall, and then they decide to put in an addition in the backyard, or they decide to put in any other, improvement other than what they've already been approved. And just so that's understood, these new rules are not meant for new owners or people for first-time offenses. We look at all of each and every one in its own circumstance, and to make sure that, in our opinion, in the committee's opinion, that they should have known the rules. So that's what those two rules are for. Now, for the next one, the community setback rule. Let's go to PC 2.9, structure, new definition, and section 3, word addition of the word structure. That's all we're actually doing, structure in the setback. And so for that one, I'm going to see if I can. My apologies here. Okay, so what that's meaning is that in the proposed sentence for section number 3, we're adding the word structure right behind rear, restrictions for all lots and a minimum first floor elevation. So as I stated before, we're not changing any setbacks, we're just adding some verbiage. So it basically defines it more for the membership of exactly what we're talking about when they come in for an approval.
We basically have had a problem with some people coming in and actually asking, what is a structure? What's your definition? There is no definition in at all in the planning and compliance section. So basically, this is a FEMA definition. It's pretty much like FEMA defines it, but it's some words were eliminated that are would not be used here in Canyon Lake. So we're pretty much defining everything as what a structure is. So.
And then there's a rule of revision for PC 3.1A. Do you have that in order there? Yeah. Okay. And so for PC 3.1A, it's what we're asking for is in the red line position in the middle of the sentence. It says the community setback should, and then we're striking out the word generally, and then keeping only be improved with softscape landscaping, and then we are adding the verbiage and no structures. So basically, we're continuing on with the same, with making sure that understanding about the structures. And then at the very end of it, where it says trees, we're adding the word and bushes shall be planted at least 6 feet back from the curb. So it's really just a defining of the actual rule itself. So individuals before would have thought, well, it's only a tree, I have a bush. Well, technically a bush can get as high as a tree. So we want to make sure that they're aware that they need to be planted 6 feet back.
And we're not going to make homeowners remove the trees and bushes that are already out at the curb. So this is all for new plants and trees.
And I also want to point out there are no fines attached to any of these definitions and rule revisions. As stated in the fine book, you won't see fines in them there currently. So for PC 3.1 side setback rule revision, in the red line addition, it basically states at the very end of the sentence, we're adding for a corner lot. So the interior side property line setback and the addition of the words for a corner lot, then it will be 5 feet, and then we're also adding no structures are allowed in the side setback. This area is also called the side yard. So more of a define for the actual setback of the 5 feet. Then we have PC 3.1D, rear setback. And in the red line, it's the very last sentence. No structures are allowed in the rear 5-foot setback measured from the rear property line. We just felt it needed to be defined. And then also with, the last one is PC 3.1D.1, meandering property line. This is also a rule revision. The very first sentence has been, or sentence has been added. A meandering property line is a property line that is made up of 2 or more segments on the front, side, or rear of the lot. So we're basically defining what a meandering line is. And so that should conclude all of the rule revisions we want for 30-day. Is there any questions?
I have a question on failure to build according to plan. What I'm saying is, you come out, you do an inspection, they did something that wasn't quite right. They say, hey, yeah, okay, you're right, I'll cut that piece down, and then you walk away. I don't know if that, in a normal inspection, that's not really finable when it's, you go out and there's some minor tiny thing that they can fix in 5 minutes.
No, that's not the type we would actually be doing this for. We look through everything and we make sure it's for the substantial things that are happening.
It's got to be significant.
Correct. It's not for, I painted it the wrong color, or it's an inch too high, or if it's over a foot. No, it's not for those things. It's for the blatant things that they should not have missed it. They should have come back in for the rule to revise the actual plan, or even put the plan in for an application.
Because your language is or, so you do have the option
Yes, correct.
to correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was okay. There's one I'd like to change. I don't know if we need to vote on everything else and then come back to the one I want to change, or how do we want to do that? I want to change the fine schedule for, it would be PC.6, failure to obtain a permit. It's PC 7.6. And I agree, I like the philosophy, the first fine is $500, second offense is just $1,000, and it grows. I get that. But sometimes somebody goes out and paints their mailbox, right? I don't see that being a $500 fine. I see minor cosmetic things. I could go with a minor cosmetic fine for work under $2,000 just being $75, because I don't want somebody to get a $500 fine because they touch up the post on their paint on their post.
If I may say something, by all means, we can change it, but it would be easier just to pay the fine than to actually put the permit in. That's just my comment.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it from 500 on somebody, you got a rough spot of paint on your garage door and you go out and.
Okay, so that's one of the examples that we most likely would not be putting in for a fine for somebody, like I said, for paint colors or for doing a painting of the house. It's when they're habitual that they would be getting this actual violation.
Yeah, so the first one's 500, so that's only my problem. I agree with the 500. I'm totally on with this rise on what you'd call, people who clearly know what they're doing. They're adding a fence in the front. They're painting their whole house even, or I'm kind of talking about the person that sees that the little fence, the little steel fence going in their house is, wrought iron, that one gate. They paint the one gate. That doesn't seem to be how would you, I paint I don't have wrought iron gate, so I kind of use this.
Right.
So I go out and I go, it's a little rusty. I'm going to go paint my wrought iron gate. And what would you find that person?
I personally don't want to have to fine them at all.
Yeah.
What I would like to do is for them to come in and get a permit. Let's say, for instance, if it's something as simple as that, that's not what we would consider good enough for us to be able to issue this type of violation, unless they were habitual. Okay, now we're not talking about painting a small wrought iron fence or taking care of some rust. We're talking about somebody who has come in and built a wall where they shouldn't have built it, or they built, a house, or they built an addition, or any, or. But when it comes to the maintenance portions of what we're talking about, when they're trying to maintain their property, that's not what we're looking to fine them for.
I noticed it says that is subject to.
That
Yeah.
is correct.
Okay.
Thank you. And please note also that the word, a project that violates the planning and compliance section.
Oh, so it has to actually.
It has to violate, something that would
Okay.
end up at the board is basically
So
what we're
so
talking
you're
about.
not touching these minor
No.
paint touch?
No.
Oh,
No.
yeah, then we're good with this. I just,
Yeah, it has to violate a CCNR or a serious rule violation to be able to, to warrant.
Understanding your process in ACC, also, this isn't necessarily kind of like a speeding ticket. Somebody's speeding, they get hit right away. You guys start with notification letters and
That
time
is
to
correct.
comply. So by the time they get to this level, it's not going to be that they did it on that day. It's going to be that they've done it after repeatedly been warned or told to try and make correction, but yet still haven't done it.
We'll go one step further than that. Before that, the initial letter even starts, the inspector is actually at the property, either trying to make contact with the member or at least the contractor to have them come in, so they don't even have to send a letter. Because normally, if they're told something on the spot within 24 hours and they come in and do something, a letter's not going to be processed. But you're right, there is a courtesy notice that is sent out that basically explains exactly what the member is to do by submitting an application and/or giving us any kind of material, color choices, or whatever they're asking for. And then after that, if they still fail to do it, then they actually come to a hearing. And if they, at that point in time, want to, then they can come to the committee and explain what had happened. And then from there, if they don't, it's basically for failure to respond. That's what we're looking at. If they fail to respond to our letters, then it can go all the way up to this particular violation.
okay, thank you. My last comment is that everyone, please go get your permits so we don't have to do any fining. I make a motion that we approve F through M.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
Thank you, Cheryl. And John. Okay, we're going to move on to the board action items. Item 6.1, Steve.
Good evening. First item I have is some new docks for Happy Camp. The campground Phase 1 was completed in May of 2018, and we're continuing to make improvements. We're currently working on a propane sale point, restroom redesign, and possibly moving the office down near the gas dock. We currently have 4 docks total at the campground. 3 are used for campground guests, and the 4th is used as a gas dock, which also serves as a POA and official use. This is for the replacement of the 3 docks, that would be the campground courtesy docks, and doesn't include the gas docks. We're looking into rebuilding the aluminum frame gas dock for a lower cost than replacing it in a different project. That's a newer dock. It's a little bit more updated. We don't feel at this time we actually need to replace the entire dock. The 3 courtesy docks are currently 60 feet long, and they have 20-foot ramps. They can become quite steep when the lake level drops. We would like to make the 2 docks nearest the dam an additional 20 feet, which would be an 80-foot dock with 40-foot ramps to help with the steepness of the ramps when the lake level drops. The dock nearest Skipper's Island would have to stay the same length due to clearances for boats traveling between the island and the campground, and also our July 4th epic fireworks show for distance requirements. Project total to replace the 3 courtesy docks is $84,120. Staff requests the Board of Directors to approve funding of $84,120 plus a 5% contingency from Repair and Replacements Fund 02670 for the 3 new replacement docks at Happy Camp.
I make a motion that we approve item 6.1, funding for Happy Camp dock replacement in the amount of $84,120 plus a 5% contingency.
Second.
Comments?
Yeah, I have some comments. Back about a year ago, you and I walked to the docks, And it appeared to me that the swimming area was in the wrong place, because where the swimming area is, you basically have to walk down that steep hill to get to the swimming area. You know, the swimming area over by Skipper's Island is probably like in the worst spot, because you have to be a mountain climber to get to it. The lower level of the camp is actually away from the gas pumps. So if you go about 30 feet from the gas pumps, head towards the dam, the depth of that campground is pretty low near the water. So that makes a really nice swimming area. And we're removing we had the security dock, right? And it seems to me we should think I'm good about replacing the docks. I think it's a credible idea, but I think we need to lay them out appropriately and get that swimming area shifted from where their kids are climbing down that mountain to get to swim to where the water level of the water is much higher to the bank. Do you remember what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, there was a location, if you're looking out towards the lake at the gas dock, which is the official dock you're talking about,
Yeah,
to the right-hand side.
to the right-hand side.
I thought we had discussed making that an additional swimming area.
But I think at my time, one of those docks is kind of sitting right in the middle of that nice swimming area.
That would be the dock that's not included in this BAI.
Oh, so you're not replacing that dock?
No, I believe you're talking about the gas dock, which is also our official use. It used to be the police dock, but now the Marine Patrol is located in Holiday Harbor.
Right, so there is that dock in the middle that you're going to take out or no longer use?
No, that dock is not part of this project. We're actually looking at rebuilding that dock instead of replacing the entire thing, so we didn't have to spend the additional funds.
Because I know it wasn't the gas dock that was the problem. There was another dock halfway between the end dock and the gas dock. I don't know if we have a picture.
I do not have a current overhead picture of the docks, no.
So,
Can you?
Actually, in
Can
your
you
board
pull up a
packet,
map?
in the board packet, there is a Google Earth shot of all the docks.
yeah. See, this is the gas dock.
So,
See, this is the gas dock here,
Mhm.
that stays.
right,
This one you're talking about replacing.
correct.
This one you're talking about
Right.
replacing. This is the one right here, that if we could get it moved to here, or get it moved to here, this is the premium swimming area. So I'm good with the money, I don't have a problem, but I think this dock should be moved, because this is. I think the docks are great. I think we need to relook at where we put that middle one. It's kind of really in the middle of what would be the ideal swimming area. And back when security was there, it made sense. Now I think there's a better location for that middle dock. So, again, I don't have any trouble necessarily funding it, but I think
Okay.
we should replan the location of what on here is Marina 3.
Yeah. We can discuss that. We have a, motion and second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay. Steve?
Okay, this next one is for funding to renovate the small dog park at Eastport, and we're calling it Phase 2. In 2016, the POA installed a small and large dog park in the Eastport Park. Since then, the park has become very popular and enjoyed by many of our four-legged friends. We'd like to update the park to accommodate the heavy usage. Dog parks in other cities have turned to artificial grass because of maintenance and long-term costs. There would be 3 large mounds in the dog park, for elevation changes instead of just having one big flat area. The park would also include a DG walking path lined by a concrete mow strip. 3 new trees would be planted to make a total of 6. Adequate drainage, so no standing water accumulates. This project would also be a test if the POA would like to move forward with a Phase 2 for the large side. But with this project, we would like to purchase another shade structure for the Lodge Dog Park, and we install it in a place where we incorporate the later design. We received 3 bids. The base bid included 450 linear feet of mow curbs, just over 1,000 square feet of DG paths, 4 new trees, 3,100 square feet of commercial grade pet-rated artificial turf, 3 mounts for the elevation changes, irrigation system to be used for cleaning the artificial grass, and also addition of 2 4-inch drain systems. The water fountains that are currently in the park would remain. The base bid was $30,575. Permits are $1,200. And 2 shade structures, one would be added to the small dog park and one would be added to the large side, would be $10,348.41. Fiscal impact would be $42,123.41, $31,775 from the repair and replacement fund, $10,348.41 from the capital improvement fund. Staff requests the Board of Directors approve the funding of $42,123.41, $31,775 coming from the repair and replacement fund 02670, $10,348.41 coming from the capital improvement fund 05670 plus a 5% contingency.
I have a motion, we approve funding in the amount of $42,123.41 plus a 5% contingency to update the small dog park and add 1 shade structure to the large dog park.
Second. Comments? Rita? No, you're here, right here. Please state your name and tract and lot.
Hi, Rita Robles, 3846-223. I just have a couple questions. This looks nice, but I'm having a problem with the first shade structure. It's useless. The one we have already existing, it does absolutely nothing where it's at. Sun comes full in. We have no protection of sun, shade whatsoever. If it could be moved, alongside both of them next to each other, that would be great. But where it's at right now, where it exists, it's useless. And the size, it's what is it, like 8 by 10 structure? It's very small.
It's 10 by 20.
Yeah, it's really tiny, and it serves no function whatsoever. And then we have a problem, one of the trees on the large dog side that was donated it's dead. It's gone. It was due to the irrigation system. But other than that, it's great. It's just, if you could just move that structure and still use it, but alongside the other one.
It doesn't slide.
I know, but somebody I'm sure can cut it and move it, Because really where it's at, there's no room to sit. It does nothing. It's useless. And that was the whole reason we started this, was because we needed some kind of shade coverage. And they have a picnic bench in there, and we don't sit on it. We sit after it, like this is the structure right here, and we sit on this side because we're trying to follow the sun. So the shade basically hits outside of the structure. So really it doesn't do any good. But I figured if it was against the fence where the other one is going to be, you have, you're getting some shade from the slats that you put in from the fence, which is great. And then if you have the structure there, that'll help. That'll leave us probably about maybe 4 feet of light coming in, sun, and I was thinking hopefully there could be something there that'll drop, that'll give us more protection. Because where we're at, the sun is going down on the west, and it's just going straight in. It's doing nothing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, I haven't been to the dog park during the sunset during the summertime. Usually that's about 7, 8 o'clock when I'm not
No,
here.
it's about, starts about 5.
But I've been to the park in the afternoon, and usually that entire slab that's underneath the shade structure that's where the shade is.
It shades about 11 o'clock for about an hour, and that's about it. I go there during the day too, but usually it's too high up for one. That's another one of the problems that we have. It sits too high.
Okay, thank you. That's
You cut
More-
me off?
more than
That'd be
3
nice.
minutes.
Thank you. But it looks great. All right, thank you.
Dave Erickson?
Dave Erickson, 3778020. Excuse me. First of all, I want to thank you all. I got to see you, Mike, the other day in the office, and it was great. The accessibility to you and the accountability is amazing. Steve and Cindy, best hire you ever made. I've been working with them on certain items. I'm a resident. I'm a landscape consultant, and I have been just so fortunate. I was 20 years in Santa Barbara, 25 years in Del Mar. This beats it all, not just sense of community, but involvement. I can't get this type of involvement, even in the city I've been for 25 years. Point I'm getting to is, besides everything that I've been hearing, and simple correction to something that could be done with the shade patterns, is a carrotwood tree on one end and the carrotwood tree on the other, and the shade for those times are gone. But having said that, 3 months ago, I went to a convention, a landscape convention, and it was unbelievable. I'm not this guy, but I turned into this guy 3 months ago, and it's organic. I'm realizing now with 13 grandchildren, and I'm heavily involved in an autism group down in San Diego. The statistics on that alone was incredible. Right now, it's 1 in 44 children are being born with autism. MIT is predicting 1 in 2 will be born by 2035. Where's it coming from? I don't know, but 3 months ago, I was woken up after doing this for 55 years, and a dog park would be a perfect time to just go there. And once it goes there, then we just keep going. We don't stop at just that one park, but the golf course, anywhere else, the lodge where we are now, and turn it into that, not just a little bit of paradise and beauty, but the thing that it's safe here. And it's safe long term. My dad and his 5 sisters all died of Alzheimer's. Well, I remember 2,4-D in the garage all the time, just dust flying everywhere. Is that where it came from? So I, as a guy in this field for all these years, I'm just trying to say to this crowd here that that's something that, and they're aware of it, and I'm grateful for that. I brought them some other ideas that they're running with, or at least looking into, and that's the point I'm getting at. Didn't get that in Santa Barbara, didn't get that in Del Mar. Even though I do the Del Mar racetrack, they still ignore me. But here I'm in front of you, and it feels really good. That's why I'm fortunate to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay, Steve, item 6.3, is it?
I'll do this one. For many years, the POA has planned to build a 700-foot-long CMU block wall along Getz Road. This wall will provide additional security, better aesthetic appeal, and sound attenuation for our nearby residents. The wall plans were designed this year We have obtained permits from the city and we're ready to build it now. The wall will be tan, split-faced, both sides, concrete block with a 2-inch matching cap. In addition, we will be applying a 5-coat waterproofing and anti-graffiti system with a 10-year warranty for easy graffiti removal. This wall will replace the existing chain link fencing and will tie into the existing masonry wall at East Gate. That existing wall will soon be updated with stucco and stone and lighted signage to match the East Gate monument signage, or the main gate monument signage. We are currently in the plan check and permitting process for that separate project. All of this will update the East Gate to bring Canyon Lake more aesthetically in line with our neighboring communities which have these features and which is important to maintain our property values. The funds for this project have been earmarked in our capital improvement fund for several years. We issued an RFP on February 13th, 2019, and we received 10 bids on the project. The bid tabulation is attached in your board books. The recommended contractor, who was the low responsive bidder on the wall project, the base bid portion, also provided a very high-quality 5-coat anti-graffiti system as alternate number 1, which the next lowest bidders did not. This coating system is much more suitable for a very porous split-face surface and will add value and life to the project. Steve Schneider and I handled the design coordination, drafting, and advertising the RFP, job walk, and bid analysis in-house, and we will also handle the project management in-house without the need for outside consultants or construction management firms, also at a substantial cost savings to the members. Not on your board books, but we distributed this earlier today to you. We also just received the final billing from Wildan Engineering on the engineering, the design, and the plans for this wall. That's $15,970. The permit fees were $2,801.81. Fiscal impact, the bidder that we're recommending is $242,264 plus a 4% contingency for a total of $251,954 for construction. The engineering plans and design cost of $15,970 and permit cost of $2,801.81 for a grand total of $270,725.81 from capital improvement funds. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve a construction contract to Sudweeks Construction for $242,264 and a 4% project contingency, engineering, and permit fees totaling $270,725.81 to come from the Capital Improvement Fund.
I make the motion that we approve $270,725.81 for this capital improvement project.
I second it.
Any comments? I know I have one. Reviewing budgets and such, I went back to 2010 and I found a notation for this wall in that budget year. So it's been coming around for quite a while. It may have been even further back, I don't know. But that's one thing I noticed, so it's something that's been needed. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay, that concludes our business portion. And now we'll move on to member comments, and Ron Martell.
Is it on now? Okay, Ron Martell, 3868 198. I want to thank you for this time. By now, we should all be receiving our ballots to fill the positions of 3 POA board members in early May. This is a very important election, aren't they all? Therefore, we invite all interested homeowners to attend Speak to the Candidates this coming Monday, April 8th, 7 p.m. at the Lodge right here. For the last 6 years, this event has been sponsored by a group of 27 Canyon Lake clubs and organizations, which represents a very large percentage of Canyon Lake homeowners. We all have common interests in improving our community. I'm very pleased to announce that all 5 candidates have graciously agreed to participate. Sometimes it's not so much what is said, but how you say it. By attending this event, you may ask questions directly or submit a written question to hear how each plans to respond to it. If you can't attend this event, it's planned to be televised and rebroadcast, or you could also attend a similar forum called Meet the Candidates the next evening, Tuesday at 6 p.m., sponsored by our good friends over at the Chamber of Commerce. That'll be in the Magnolia Room at the Country Club. Throughout this whole process, we should all gain an appreciation for the challenge these volunteers face, and let's thank them for trying to make Canyon Lake a better place to live. Whatever you all decide to do, please vote for the candidate of your choice, and let's all be supportive of our collective selections. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. And yeah, please vote, because we want to make our quorum on Thursday so it doesn't have to carry over to Saturday and a further expense. Randy.
Okay, 3973 Lot 11. Anybody here must have heard about the bloom flowers in Lake Elsner, okay? Well, we don't have flowers in Canyon Lake, but what we do have is the weeds that are growing up on property, okay? And in my situation, on both properties, on both sides, is property with no homes, okay? And the weeds are growing up quickly, okay? And not only am I concerned about the house, but the fire department is concerned. So for a long time, we, on the April-May timeframe, we sent a letter to the property owners, and if they didn't respond, we just went ahead and did it when I was on the POA board. And then we put on their property, okay? I'm not sure if that's true today or not, but it's a really concern. I mean, if you look at the weeds, they're growing quite a bit, and it's going to be higher than me pretty quickly, already higher than my dog. So if you could look at that, I would appreciate it.
Will do. Cheryl, what's our time frame for sending out letters?
So what if they don't, can I ask a question, Paula? If they don't respond, do we then do it through the property tax? I'm sorry.
It's called self-help. So what we do is we come out, Our first letter went out the 1st of March, and that basically explained the weed abatement process and that the timeframes that the inspectors would be out to inspect. Then the inspectors went out and re-inspected on the 15th of March, and that's when they actually sent out the courtesy notices to all the ones that still had to get their lots abated. They have until, I want to say it's May 18th, I'm sorry I don't have the date in my head, and after that, then what happens is that if they don't, then we go directly into the hearing portion of it, and then if they still don't do it, then we go ahead and we go out there, we contract a weed abater to go out there and abate the lots. And then that charge goes on their account.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into our reporting section. Lynn?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Today's executive session was called to order at 1:02 p.m. or 13:02 p.m. Items discussed on the agenda were there was 4 third-party contract discussion items held, legal provided an update, and there was 1 personnel matter discussed. The meeting concluded at 5:22 p.m. Thank you.
Eric?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. As you just heard, the board approved the Eastport block wall contract, and so we will be awarding that contract and starting that project soon. We have a great white concert here in the Holiday Bay Room this Saturday. There's a few tickets left. We have also submitted plans and first-round plan check corrections and engineering to the building department for the replacement of the country club sign. That's a triangular pink faded one that will be replaced with a nice-looking stone column and a normal commercial-looking sign illuminated from the inside and with our logo matching the main gate. And we are now in the second round of plan check with the city on that. I hope to get that going soon. The tennis court lighting, LED lighting conversion is now complete, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews about that and substantially cutting our energy costs. Should pay for itself in a few years. The pump track project at Sierra Park North should receive the grading, we should receive the grading plan this week, and we will then go and get pricing on the grading portion of the project and permits for the grading portion of the project. We have recently, well, probably almost a year ago now, we partnered with EVMWD to develop an hazardous algae monitoring and testing protocol for Canyon Lake. The state has guidelines for hazardous algae blooms, but all they have is guidelines, and it's a very rough outline of what you could do or should or might do in any given situation. And so we work with them to develop a specific plan that if it's agreeable to everybody, we would adopt, and it pertains to how we will monitor the algae during the warmer months and how we will test and what kind of notification we will do and whose responsibility is what. And we hope to have that final report in the next couple weeks and have that protocol in place during the busy summer months. We dodged a bullet the last few years. We haven't really had a major hazardous algae bloom where we've had to close the lake. I think we did once for a brief period in 2016, and we had no incidents last year. We put out an RFP for engineering consulting services and testing of the sediment in the lake related to a proposed dredging project. We received one proposal on that, and the dredge committee is meeting soon, I think, is it this week, to review that proposal?
I think it's next week, probably.
Next week.
Next week.
And, excuse me, and from activities, the activities department, Fiesta Day planning is in full swing. If you want to become a vendor, rent a booth, or participate in the parade, please talk to the activities department. And that's about all I have this month, and as usual, I'll refer everyone to the staff reports in your agenda. There's a lot of good information about what each and every department is doing, and a lot of hardworking people here, and a summary of each of those departments is in your agenda, so thank you.
Corporate Community Patrol. Bill?
Good evening, everyone. Today I'd like to start off by talking about the lake itself. With the change in the time, we now have increased the hours of operation at Marine Patrol. We've also increased the amount of staff that is there. So if you need to make an appointment, I know registration time is coming up, feel free to call and make that appointment with Marine Patrol. Also regarding the lake, with the recent storms that we've had recently, we've had a lot of debris in the lake. I'm happy to say, though, that Marine Patrol and Operations Department together have been working diligently to clear that lake of all debris. But if you happen to see anything on the lake, again, call us and let us know, and we'll get someone out there to clean that up as soon as possible. Regarding the gates, I don't know if you've noticed, but we have begun a rotation cycle with the gate guards. You may have come to one of your gates and noticed, hey, this guy is gone or this female is gone. They're not gone, they're just at another gate. This is part of our ongoing training that we do with our gate guards, but you will see them again at the other gates soon. They'll be rotating on a monthly basis. And the last thing I'd like to say is, again, regarding the with the new weather coming in, nice weather, it's getting warm out there, the days are getting longer. Speed limits on the streets. We've recently collected quite a few speeding tickets this past couple of weeks. So I do encourage everyone to please observe the speed limits, especially on Canyon Lake Drive, but even more so on Longhorn Drive, where the road is narrow, and on Continental, where the road is narrow. You've also probably seen the new signs out there. Just wanted to warn everyone, speeds will be enforced with the radar. But again, if you have any questions, we've got a lot of golf carts out there now with the weather changing, walkers, bike riders, and children on vacation. So it's just the smart thing to do. Slow it down, you'll get to where you got to go, and we don't have to give you a citation. So if you have any questions, though, as always, feel free to contact me personally at my office. I will respond. That's it.
Thank you, Bill. Council.
Thank you. There's nothing new to report outside of what we reported to the board in executive session.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the business portion. Now we have board comments. Dale?
A couple things that were mentioned. One is about the speed limits on the roads. Please be careful and slow down. The FRC committee is looking at Continental and at Longhorn to see if we can put some better striping in there that'll hopefully slow some cars down a little bit. We've asked the POA to increase the patrolling of the area, which they have done. So those are some very narrow streets, so please be careful in them. As we all know, that this association costs a few dollars to run, and we always have to say, how can we save money? And the best way every individual in this community can save the POA money is to go out and get an RFID. They're free now. They'll get you in the gate quicker, and that saves us having to have long lines and saves us to having extra guards at the gate. Over the next few months, we're going to move more and more towards depending on the RFID. So if you as a member don't have your RFID, you may come to the gate in 6 months and realize that your sticker's not working anymore. So please, whenever you have time, they're free. They give you quicker access to the gates. Please get down to the association and get your RFID sticker on your car. So please help us out and help your neighbor who's stuck at the gate.
I'm going to, excuse me, I've talked about this before and I'm going to do it again, but this magazine we get every quarter is just the best thing out there because it has everything probably that you want to know that's going on for the 3 months. Myself, I don't know where all the different meetings are within the community. I know what I'm responsible for, but in there it shows the committee meetings. The other thing, we were talking about election dates. If you can't remember them, they're right in here. This is probably one of the nicest things that we see. It's so professionally done. It's up to date. And it's all part of the Going Green. And between this and our website, we've made great progress. And just pay attention to this. You don't have to look up a lot of stuff. Put it where it's real handy to look at, and you'll have what you're looking for. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to be the naysayer. We need to slow down on our streets in Canyon Lake, all of them. The summer is coming toward us. The streets are now dry, and apparently we think we can go 50 when we should still be doing 35. I'm glad to hear we're getting citations for people speeding, and I hope we continue to give them citations for speeding. That's the number one nasty for our community. It can kill people. It's not safe for us to do so. And each of us has to take the interpersonal opinion that they will not speed. Thank you.
Thank you. As you saw on tonight's agenda, like we've been doing in past months, our staff and this board are getting things accomplished. We're upgrading and updating our 50-year-old community. We're bringing new things in, and come back again next month and you're going to see some more of the same. I think it's really a really positive thing for this community and getting us in better shape. Not that we're in terrible, but it's always nice to get newer, fresher, and in case like a pump track, something that we don't have right now. And I just hope that we can keep continuing along this pattern. The golf course right now, I think, is in the best shape it's probably ever been. Thank Mother Nature, a lot of that, for the water we've got this year. But if you haven't had an opportunity, please go out to the golf course, enjoy a round of golf. And we've got some updates coming for the restaurant here at the lodge, so stay tuned. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate speed on the streets. If you can't say it enough, and if you get out there in a golf cart on Longhorn or really any street, but the major streets have golf cart paths, people can walk there, but out on Longhorn it gets really narrow at the causeway, and it's very dangerous. And I'm sure Nancy and Ted can attest to that. They live in the area, real close. I may be preaching to the choir right now, but we need to get the message out to the ones that are speeding. Slow down. And that concludes my report. And the business section right now, we're going to adjourn for a brief intermission and then return for architectural appeals. You all may stay if you like for the fun. Thank you. We call this meeting back to order at 19:17 or 7:17 p.m. Cheryl, who do we have up first here?
Okay, so for the first one that we have coming to the board is going to be Linda Wells. I believe that they are present, and if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and come up there to the chair. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go through the background and the history, so it'll be a lot of reading so that the board can understand completely what we're trying to do here. A pre-escrow inspection was requested on January 16th of 2019 to see if there were any violations on this property, which is located at 24105 Cruise Circle Drive. The inspectors noticed a non-permitted stacked stone wall located on what appeared to be a POA road easement. January 30th of 2019, the property manager, Mr. Sellers, submitted an application for the stacked stone wall. The application and plan was viewed on February 7th of 2019, and the committee, due to this as being a CC&R violation, does not have the authority to approve anything on the POA property, so they had to deny this application. So what we are describing here is, under the rule description, it states POA property easement for road and drainage purposes. There's so much information that is in this packet, and truly what this is a culmination of what we found in the member's file, and then talking with the member, and then going over all of the approved applications, and then looking at what we call our tract map, which has all of the easements on it. When we looked at the tract map, there is, actually, let's go ahead and go to a page. I'm going to ask Lynn if she wouldn't mind. I believe it's going to be B, that one right there. This particular road, no, just go back up to the Rivco. There you go. So if you can see where it states Canyon Lake, okay, it says Cruise Circle Drive, and then running up and down that's Continental. That section right there, if you go all the way up where it says City of Mena, if you're going down, I'm sorry, right there is what we call an easement. It's for drainage and for road purposes. Well, this particular easement has been a kind of a conflict of interest for quite some time now. If the board will recall, there's also paperwork in there for, it's Ms. Wells, correct? The neighboring property, which would be the Schaefer property, Lot 220. They also had to come to the board to get what we are requesting for as a licensing agreement. Currently, right now, there was an approved plan for the house that is located at Ms. Wells' property, and this house actually was built on the property line. So therefore, if the house, the house itself does not have a 5-foot setback. Along with that, there's also an approved plan in her file for the wall, and if you want, Lynn, there's a picture of the wall. And this wall was actually approved as well. I want to say it's probably about 12 to 15 feet in on the road easement. To kind of make this long story short, because there's a lot of information, I would prefer for Ms. Wells to have the opportunity to discuss this and talk to the board. What we're trying to do is we're not trying to get Ms. Wells to remove the stacked stone blocks. We're not trying to do anything other than what we had already suggested for the board to do for Schaefer, and that is to approve what we call a revocable licensing agreement for the items. Now, there is a slight mistake on what my recommendation is. My recommendation basically is requesting for the board to approve just the stacked stone block wall on the road easement, but it has to also include the other improvements that are on the road easement as well, which I believe is going to be a storage unit, and there's also a block wall, another block wall not including the stacked stone block wall. So that's what we're currently doing. We did do this for Mr. Schaefer, I want to say about 1.5 years ago, and so we're requesting for the board to do the same, is to do a licensing. There you go. This is the actual block, or the stacked stone that we're talking about, the stacked stone wall. So this is the only one that we could find that on the property that did not have a permit. Now, it appears that Ms. Wells does have she submitted another appeal to the board that was hand-delivered tonight that kind of explains what went on. So at this point, I would like for Ms. Wells to have the opportunity to talk.
Could you do one favor before we start? Go back to the picture, the last picture we had where they were looking down the side yard. And with your pointer, approximately, where is the real property line?
Right there is the property line, right at the house.
So basically, the sidewalk, everything is built on the POA property.
So we're talking about this easement being approximately 66 feet wide. Of this 66-foot easement, 33 feet, it was almost like it was divided in half, went to Schaefer's side, and 33 feet went to Wells' side.
And that's what I kind of remember when he was here last,
Correct.
is that he assumed that maybe, like you're saying, half of it's theirs and half of it's mine, when really it's all POAs, they're each just utilizing them.
There is actually, if you go back to one of mine, I want to say one of the exhibits basically has an APN number for the street. So the street itself and the junction that goes in actually does have an APN number.
I think I saw that on the first picture.
Right.
Keep going, right there.
Right there.
That's that one in the middle of the street, 066.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is our APN number for the street.
And that
for
extends
Continental.
all the way out to the interior side of those bold lines.
Oh, well, it looks like I transposed the numbers. 1 is supposed to be on where 220 is, and 220 is supposed to be where 1 is. So my apologies for that. So that kind of gives a general synopsis of what we're asking for the board to do, is to remain consistent with what we've done with Schaefer and to allow a revocable license agreement to be approved for this property.
And the shed, is the shed still there or not there?
Yes, the shed is still there, and it also was permitted. And I don't have the dates in my head. They are down here exactly when it was permitted.
And the shed is on the POA property, or
It's
the
on
shed?
POA property,
Okay.
correct.
And so this license is for both things or just the wall?
What I'm requesting for, like I said, there was one error. We need to add other improvements. So it'll be the wall, the stacked stone wall, and the shed. And then if there's anything else, I don't believe there was anything else that was on that property.
So, just to comment, the license agreement that, if I remember, we gave basically said, yeah, your improvements are okay, till at some point in the future, the POA should decide to claim that land back. At the present time, I don't see any reason we're going to do that in the next many, many, many years. I'm pretty sure it's safe. But at the end of the day, should the POA decide to come in and put a park there or do something there, we would say that's our land, we need it back. But again, I'll tell you, the only time we really talk about taking that land is when somebody like you comes up and says, It's ours. So, again, maybe in 40 years, we decide we need another entrance, but you can tell by the topography where it's at, it's not going to be an easy thing to accomplish success. You know, it can be done with time and lots of money to make that an improvement and serve the people. But for now, we have a lot of other places we can spend our time and money and do a lot better for the people of Canyon Lake. So, yes, what we did last time was give the right to keep it, and you'll get to keep it until some point in the future where the people of Canyon Lake decide that will serve them.
And maybe one more question about the licensing agreement. I'm assuming pre-escrow, you're probably selling the property? If that's the case, then the question is, does a license agreement go with the owner or with the property so that no matter who it goes to, it remains in effect?
With the property.
Since it's revocable on our side, it as nice as it is that it runs with the property, it's still only kind of at our pleasure. And as much as that is, it's very highly unlikely we're going to use it for quite a while.
Not necessarily. We've been talking about how can we process people faster into the community, and we've thought about using an entrance at that area.
Okay, I haven't been involved in the discussions, but okay.
Well, we're not ready to present it, so it's just discussion. Ms. Wells, go ahead.
You deflated my bubble. I had this whole statement that you have, I had prepared to read, but that was before I was able to read the board action item. Since reading the board action item, I was pleasantly surprised at the recommendation, and I appreciate that. There was a lot of emotion involved in what I wrote, so keep that in mind when you read it. It was my mother's house after my stepfather built it, and then he passed on. She passed on in December, which is why we're selling the property. So we're just trying to get everything in order, everything properly done so that we can sell the property. So that's it.
Okay, any comments? Future comments? How about a motion?
Thing I would really be making sure, I don't know if you guys and you, Mr. Real Estate, what kind of disclosures need to be in place so that when the new owner ends up in the property, that they don't get surprised or find out that something's going to get taken from them that they thought they were buying.
That's the purpose of recording it. So once it's recorded, then it's something that has to be disclosed, and they get that information.
That's absolutely correct. So essentially, I'd like to just tell you that it could be tomorrow, it could be in 30 years, and the person that's going to buy your house has to be given this disclosure. It'll have to go through recording, and then that'll have to be presented during the escrow. In the event that something didn't happen the way it should, you'd be liable. So we want to help you to follow through the process completely, so that when you sell it, you've given them the notice that needs to be given, and then you're not going to be liable in the future.
Thank you. And Uncle Steve can help.
I make a motion, we approve the licensing agreement for this home as outlined by Cheryl.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, 5 in favor, motion carried.
Okay, so I believe the next one is going to be Robert Taylor appealing the ACC revocation of a permit for the fence located in the setback. I don't believe Mr. Taylor is able to make it. He had requested for me to talk on his behalf. I want to make this one very simple. If all of you had gone out there to see this property, you would have seen that this property has streets on 3 sides of it. It's a corner lot, and it's a lot that runs parallel with the guard shack. And so what technically would have been considered their front yard is technically they're using as their backyard. But by our definition, in our rules, the shortest end that abuts the street would be considered the front yard. Well, since we've redesigned the actual guard shacks. It's now in front, directly in front, which basically makes this property unusable, for them to be able to get in and out, plus the fact I believe their front door is on the long side. And so what the committee, since the committee cannot do this because it's basically, we're talking about setbacks once again, what we're asking for is that the board go ahead and approve this with a recorded variance. And it's similar, what we're trying to do is basically stop this from happening in the future, anything else, like if they wanted to put anything else back there. We would like for them to be able to use that portion of it for their rear yard, so that abuts Canyon Lake Drive.
This is one of those situations where we have an unusual, you have unusual topography or unusual shape that limits them from normal use of the property, especially with the guard shack. So in that case, that does, we usually tend to approve those. So this applies in your mind under that guidance? Okay.
So I'd like to make a few comments, because after this was written and submitted to go to the board today, or this evening, we had legal in last week, and I presented a suggestion to legal and also to Cheryl that here's what we have. We have a very unusual house, the way it's situated. The backyard is against the street, the front yard is against the street, and they built the house according to the CC&Rs. It's exactly set properly. The problem is it has on the street that it should be actually the front yard, it would have required a variance to change it, and it would have had different property line setbacks, front versus rear. So my suggestion is that instead of giving them a variance for this fence, which is in their front yard currently, that we actually do a variance to change the front yard, switch the front yard and the rear yard around, so that the front yard is on Long Point and the rear yard is now on Canyon Lake Drive South. The advantages to doing that is that if they wanted to put a spa in the backyard, or in the front yard where it is now, they'd have to come in here and see the board again, because the committee cannot do it. But the committee has the authority to change setbacks, the setbacks for a property if there's a topography problem. And there definitely is a topography problem now. You have the front of the house is right up and facing the guard shacks, and there's noise. And the house was built with the front of the house, the front door is actually on Long Point, and the rear yard is actually facing the guard shacks. So, and the rear yard being, it's just the way it's set up. So my suggestion is let's do one variance which the committee could approve, but the caveat is that the front yard would now be 32 feet back from actually 42 feet back from the street. And that the difference is that the problem is that it now was going to have, and not going to meet the CC&R for rear yard setback. But with the variance, with a comment in there, a requirement that when the house is removed, someday in the future, I know it's hard to believe, but someday in the future, almost all the houses that are existing here are going to be replaced with modern homes, and times will change. It's inevitable. At one point, your house is going to be gone and replaced. That we only make it for the life of the structure. When the new house is built on this lot, that it has to get a variance to change it so that the front of the house is on Longhorn with the proper setbacks. So what I'm asking for is to send it back to the committee. We do a variance, which is a cost to the member, but this would eliminate any future problems.
You're really not asking us to take any action, just send it back to you so that you can come forward to us with a properly written.
Actually, I will not be coming forward.
Or
bring
we
it
can-
back here. We can do this in the ACC. We have that authority.
But my suggestion is basically the same thing that John is saying, but not have it to go back and go through the 2-week notification process to all around the members, but to approve it just with the same sense that John was talking about, that we're changing the front to the back and the back to the front.
Yeah, what she stated is probably easier to understand.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry, I may have gotten too complicated, but we're trying to make it a lot simpler and to make it for forever, for the life of that house, that this would be something permanent.
For the life of the property.
Life of the house.
Life of the improvement only. Okay.
Yes, improvement only. And that would eliminate any more modifications that they want to do in the front yard, because it would no longer be a front yard.
Okay, I make the motion that we approve changing the front yard to Long Point and the rear yard to Canyon Lake Drive South for the length of the home.
Correct.
Life of the
The
home.
life
Life
of the improvement.
Right.
I second it.
It doesn't need to go back.
Any more comments?
Just legal, you can tell me, this is a neighbor. He lives directly across the street from a property I own, so is it better for me just to not vote? And I have no problem with this, but I'll leave that, to give me the guidance.
Yeah, if you would abstain, that would prevent any problems in the future. Thank you for disclosing that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
4 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, so for our final one is Marta Morrison appealing the ACC denial for the driveway extension. Thank you very much, Karen. So what happened here, the background on this one is that on February 11th, the Morrisons, and there is a correction, it wasn't 2018, it was 2019. The Morrisons submitted an application and plan for a driveway extension to be 40-foot long by 10-foot wide. The 2 applications and plans were reviewed by the committee on February 21st, and due to PC 8.1, the minimum of 1/3 landscape ratio of landscaping to concrete should be maintained in the front yard. They had to deny it because, unfortunately, they did not have enough enough landscape. So the description that we are looking at is PC 8.1 for improved lots, and the specific portion of that rule is outlined at the very bottom where it says a minimum of 1/3 ratio of landscaping to concrete should be maintained in the front yard. So the committee did meet, and like I said, they denied the plan. It's missing measurements for the concrete and landscaping and the calculation to meet the 1/3 requirements per PC 8.1. The committee was at the property at the time and measured and found that the 1/3 landscaping was not met, that 686 square feet is required, and that they would only have 460 square feet. So if you go to the next page, the staff recommendations basically states that we investigated the 6 lots that were given to us by the Morrisons regarding what they wanted to have, what other people had. And so we had Marlon, our inspector, go out and take a look at all 6 properties. And there is in the packet, that was attached his report, that if you wanted to go through that. Basically what we found is that the majority of them were permitted. There was, I want to say, 1 that was not permitted, and it went back, dating back several, we're talking about 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that made me to believe, well, maybe what I should do is look at when did the 1/3 ratio rule take place. And so I could find it going back as far as 2006, but I couldn't find it in 2000, or I couldn't find it in 1997 or 98, those different rules. So with that being said, that the majority of the properties that they gave as a reference, they basically were approved without the 1/3 ratio rule being in place. So The other thing that we also did is, if the board will remember, just a few short months ago, we approved a new rule for PC 5.1 for the driveways. The basic reason for approving that new rule is so that whatever concrete that was going to be used to extend driveways would we would have a lot more autonomy on how that the membership would be able to do that, so that the driveway, once it's been built, would not take away from the view of the house. And the reason why we have this rule that we already approved was because we wanted to make sure that we kept up with the aesthetics around the neighborhood. So the purpose, staff is recommending that the Board of Directors uphold the ACC decision and deny the appeal, and have the member go back to the committee with a revised plan, if that revised plan can be made. So at this point, I want to give you an opportunity.
Oh, okay, there I am. Okay, so the front of our house, the way that it looks, unfortunately, we don't have a picture in there, I just have one right here, but it is a roundabout driveway, and it has the landscape on each side, and then it has a center landscaped area. But on the side in question that we're talking about adding concrete to, the reason that we want to add the concrete is because on the other side of our wood fence, there's extended cement area back there, it's unused space. And we aren't able to get back there with our golf carts if we wanted to park them away from the exterior of the house. So when you look at our house and you see the driveway, the front of our house, here's our front door, our golf carts, the only place we have for them now is sitting in front of our front door, and next to those are the areas of the driveway in which we have to park our carts. So the purpose of wanting to have an area that we can actually, without having to drive over the existing landscape, which is rock, we wanted to get rid of that rock and lay the cement so that we can drive the golf carts and have them parked over on the side of the house behind the fence. And that was it.
Whereabouts would it be? On the right-hand side?
Oh, okay, so it would be on the left-hand side, over on the side of the house there, that's all cement area. There's a wood fence on the other side of that fence going into the backyard. It's all cemented back there, but it's just not, being used for anything. And so, right, if you're standing at the driveway, standing in front of the house, you'll see the front door is, right there in the center where that center triangle is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right in front of that, that's about where we are able to park our golf carts. So the rest of the driveway area goes to our vehicles. So I would like, it's not the prettiest house in Canyon Lake, but I'd like my house to be able to be seen as well and, have an open space.
So on the left side, do you have 5 feet between the house and the fence?
I need to point out that this is not the right tract map, right plan. This one here is, if I can go ahead and pass that down. This particular plan that was up there there you go, that's the one.
Oh, that's okay. I also have a photo of the front of the house showing where the golf carts are parked. I'm not sure if am I able to present it?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, that's... that doesn't look like our, no. The other one looked more like it. Yeah, I know, it's confusing.
No, that one actually was the one that was submitted with your plan.
That,
Yeah, I think originally,
that one?
originally it wasn't, it somehow along the line, it did not end up getting built like that.
Oh,
But,
okay, I see.
the original plan was for a circular driveway, but for over time, and we don't know, but it was not permitted. But basically, I've given them a copy of the plot plan that actually came with with the permit request or application.
Oh, okay.
So, one thing I want to point out is that when when members have problems with trying to use, in this situation where they already have too much concrete, what they end up doing is they put rock down or even grass on the side so they can put their do exactly what you want to do. You could drive on the rock, you can't park on it, or you could drive on the grass with your golf cart, but there's nothing, you just can't park on it
Right.
and leave it out there.
Right.
But you could take it, drive in on that area, and then go through your gate and put it behind the gate.
And drive over the rock?
Yeah, drive over the
The kind
rock.
of rock for the landscape are like the large
Well,
rocks?
Yeah,
Like,
normally
it's
like,
very-
like 3/4 or 1 inch rock is normally good to be able to drive on.
Uh-huh.
So it would change, yeah. So,
These are the plans, so it's going to be listed as A and B. So the ones that you're
When I-
looking at were a part of Marlon's report.
When I'm looking at the house in the picture,
This is your house right here, right?
Correct.
so you've got the garage is on the right side as you're facing the front of the house. The original construction is a pull-through or a roundabout driveway. But your front door, your window on the left side of the house are really in front of that that concrete area. And now you want to go even further all the way to the property line, basically, to create a driveway path that goes up and to the left side of the house, right?
Not directly in front of that window from that bedroom,
Right.
but yeah, over
To the left, so
side.
all the way to the far side, so like you said, you can pull actually through your driveway and end up on the side of the house with the golf cart.
Yeah, yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
so would putting the golf cart, getting into that access, be a driveway that would come in on the left side? You have a driveway that comes in on the right side that goes to your garage. Would you need the cement that's in the middle of the house right now in front of that window and that doorway, or could that be converted to landscape to alleviate the problem of not meeting the minimum percentage?
The area that's right up at the front, it has 2 pillars, and it has cement right behind it, and then there's the house with the window, and our front door is right next to it. Is it?
I'm talking about from the, say, 5 or 10 feet in front of the house,
Okay.
all the way to the curb. Right now, that's cement. Could that be converted into,
There's an island right there.
right, the tree and the island are there,
Right.
but it looks like there's at least a wide enough area for a car to pull through and not be driving in your house. At least that's the way it looks.
Right, like if we were to pull into our driveway, you mean just coming around the turn?
So this would be a proposal to say, could you just take that that roundabout or whatever you want to call it, just remove that as an alternative to say, it's more important for me to get a driveway into my garage and a driveway down the side of the house. And to do that, I now take away my ability to have a pull-through that makes you go in and out of your house too. You would just basically convert that area, some small space in front of the middle of those 2 pathways, and convert that to landscape.
Do you mean so that all of the golf cart and the cars could all be parked in the front? Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, 2 different driveways.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So
That leads to our front door.
Right, and so,
Dimensions, you probably can remove the necessary area that you lack of the concrete and still have a pathway through on the existing concrete. You only take about a third of it out on this side, maybe even less than that. If you had a picture of your house in the full front, we could probably look in more detail, but it looks to us like you come in this way, go all the way around and come out, and now you want to take and put all this area in the concrete too. And we're saying, well, just take this area here, my 2 fingers off, take that out, make this concrete, so that you have a walkway to the front door, a green spot between the 2 that you have meet the 668 requirement.
My recommendation is that you go back to ACC. We have too many acronyms. Back to ACC And you work out a parking and a driveway pattern that meets our requirements, that gets you access to your back area for your golf carts. But as far as us allowing less landscaping, I don't think I wouldn't support less landscape area. You'd have to give up some concrete in order to get that driveway. And if you want to go back to ACC and relook at a plan that meets the requirements for landscaping and gets you access to your side yard, that would be great. I make a motion that you go back to the FRC, excuse me, again, I make a motion that you go back to ACC and try to develop a plan where you can stay within the landscape limits and still get access for your golf carts to where you like them to go and for your driveway.
Okay.
I second. Any more comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And that concludes our meeting. What?
Oh, yeah, we.
Go ahead.
So, yes.
Sharon Mitchell, I wish to apologize to the public for wrongdoing I did to you 15 months ago. We are arguing over 2 neighbors and a dog moving. I didn't have all the facts at the time, and I made a statement that was incorrect. I'm very, very sorry. You are 2 of the most incredible employees of our community in Canyon Lake, the most responsible, the hardest working group, really. And I apologize for my mistake. All right, John and Cheryl, I apologize for my mistake of 15 months ago regarding the moving of a dock and a patient who was getting special care, and I was unaware of that part of it. And I basically told you guys in public off, and I am asking you to forgive me for having done that. You're great employees. You're the 2 of the best of our employees we have in Canyon Lake. Thank you. I'm sorry.
He's a free employee, not an employee.
Director Hagood, you have absolutely. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
That's not excusable. Okay, that concludes our meeting for this evening. I would like to ask for a motion to close.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, point of note for the board. Can we make our executive sessions this fast instead of 5 and 6 hours?